Hi, I'm Sarah Ellen Hughes, jazz singer. Listen out for all the festival news with Paul and Lucy on Filed FM.
So I'm talking to Sarah Ellen Hughes. Is it Sarah-Ellen, or is the Ellen
No, Ellen's my middle name.
Right.
It's just a way of distinguishing me between all the other Sarah Hugheses. There's a famous American ice dancer who's called Sarah Hughes, and so when you Google Sarah Hughes, all you come up with is her, so I needed a distinguishing feature, really. Yeah.
Well, it does make it a little bit special, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right, and you've cycled today. You haven't cycled all the way from London, have you?
No, no, that's very, very far. No, just from Kirkham Station. So that's only about 10 miles.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You're performing at the Villa in Ray Green tonight. That's a familiar venue for you, isn't it?
Yes, well, I used to live in Lancaster and do about one a month at the Villa with the Dan Foreshore Quartet. They're very good to me there. It's lovely to stay and visit the area again. And I'm playing with some local musicians this time, so it's very exciting.
Excellent. So you, where are you from originally?
I'm from I'm from Hertfordshire, from Hitchin in Hertfordshire, and I grew up there, went to school there, and moved to Lancaster when I went to college. I went to St Martin's College in Lancaster, and then I moved down to London because I wanted to be in a buzzing, jazz, strong, vibrant place.
And is it?
Yes, although many other young female jazz singers decided to do exactly the same thing, so there's much competition.
Right, okay. So what got you into jazz? Is it something you were always interested in, or was it something you discovered at a particular point?
Well, I didn't grow up listening to jazz at all. My dad was a classical musician, and so we just listened to classical music in the house. So my first experience of jazz really was when I was at school in the sixth form. I just stumbled across a jazz band rehearsal after school and thought it sounded great and made friends with some of the people there. And then it just grew from there, really. I got advised on who to listen to. And in fact, the first person I was advised to listen to was Stevie Wonder, who's not jazz at all. But it's that sort of style of music that's really exciting, and it kind of just led me into then going to listen to Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan and people like that to really build my love of jazz.
Okay, so from that point you decided you wanted to be a jazz singer. You didn't want to be a Kylie Minogue or anything.
Oh no, I never wanted to be Kylie Minogue. Although, having said that, I do sing with quite a lot of pop bands, at weddings and parties and things, which I was dubious at first to do that because it just seems like it doesn't have any musical integrity, but it's great fun, and it really helps me to learn a different style of singing and incorporate that in my jazz singing, which I suppose just gives it a bit of variety.
Right, okay. So what sort of musical training have you got?
When I was growing up, I learnt the flute and the piano and the recorder, which I expect every child does. And I learnt those to a good standard. But then I started to do singing, mainly actually because when I was in the sixth form, I got tendinitis, so I had to stop playing the piano and the flute. I was advised to stop totally. And my piano teacher one day said, let's do a singing exam, which was a great idea. She wasn't a singer, but she helped me to sort of just learn the tunes. And that was really it. I've sort of taught myself by listening to people. That's the main education, really, I think you can get by listening both to recordings, which of course teaches you songs and repertoire and things, and going to watch other singers is just an amazing lesson. If you want to sit there and really study it, then that's been the most helpful thing for me.
Okay. So of the people you've seen and you've listened to, who have had the biggest influences on your own singing?
I suppose personally, the biggest influence has been Claire Martin, and I say that because I've got a personal relationship with her. But people that I don't know and that I love to listen to are Nancy Wilson, Kurt Elling. I'm trying to think of other influences. Well, again, personally, I know Nina Ferro, who's a fantastic Australian singer, and she's a great influence as well. That's who I would call to mind immediately.
Brilliant. Should we go in the other room? They're a bit noisy, aren't they? Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
There's another room through there. It'll
fine.
be dark and gloomy, but it'll be...
The band in the studio, and then the sound guy came around to my living room to record the vocals with the buses and the police cars rumbling by. It sounded fine.
No, it's great. What you can do now, what you can do on a simple laptop, if you compare what in the old days, they used to have rooms and rooms of equipment and studios and things. It's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay. So tell us about your album. You're touring at the moment to promote your debut album.
Yes, that's right. Well, I recorded it last June, and it's released on my own record label called Say So Records, and I did it that way just because it's lots of people who do their first album actually do it on their own label, who are actually sorry.
It's all right, I can edit it.
Yeah, lots of artists like me who are exploring the jazz world record their first album on their own label. It's probably the easiest way to do it, because otherwise it takes a very long time to find management to actually be involved in it with you. So that was the best way to get the ball rolling. And I recorded it with my jazz quartet, who I'm going on tour with. The tour is May and June mostly, although there are a few dates in April. And we're going, all the way around the country, including Jersey. That's the furthest south, and the furthest north is Berwick-upon-Tweed. So as far as you can go, really, still being in the UK. In England, I mean.
Okay, has the album got a particular theme?
Well, it's called Darning the Dream, and that's I suppose the main theme of it that's one of the songs on the album. Darning the Dream, I'd actually written the words myself, and it's a reflection on my dreams about my mum, who I lost 3 years ago, and that was the basis really of actually recording the album. And I suppose that's the emotional heart of it. And then all the other songs that are around that are ones that I just love to sing, and really that's the main reason for them, songs that I love and songs that I perform well with the rest of the musicians.
Okay. What's the name of the guy you did the duet with? I've forgotten.
Ian Shaw.
Right, tell us about that one.
So Ian Shaw is just a terrific singer. He frequently wins the best male vocalist at the BBC Jazz Awards and all sorts of awards like that. And he is a real supporter of young singers like me, which is really wonderful. I met him once at a gig, and we just got talking, and I told him about my album, and we just decided to record something together, which was really great. Obviously, it lifts the profile of the album, so it's great for me. But also to actually have been in the studio with him is a real inspiration and a great way of learning straight away.
Okay, and you've performed with the National?
National Youth Jazz Orchestra. Right, yeah, NIJO.
Okay. How did that come about?
Well, they actually, despite being a national band, they rehearse in London weekly, and I'd always heard of them through friends that I'd met. They gave me recordings to listen to of NIJO, because they're a really amazing jazz, a big band. And so I just went one day to rehearsal in London, and it was really great. They gave me some good opportunities to sing in the rehearsal, and I got a gig with them the very next day, which was fantastic. And that was in 2001, and I was there for 7 years, although they have just one main vocalist, and they can have lots of trainee singers, as it were. And I was training for 4 years, and then for the last 3 years I was there, was actually the principal vocalist, which is great. Loads of opportunities and a great way to just learn by doing. And
the RAF band?
Oh yes, I think I got that gig by someone watching NIJO, who called me up and said they were looking for a singer. And they are fantastic. In fact, that's the big band. I don't know if you saw it, but there was, on the Alan Titchmarsh show, there was the People's Crooners competition. They anyway, that was a couple of weeks ago, and the RF Big Band were the band for that. So it was quite funny to see them on the television. And so I haven't done any work with them in the last year, but they sporadically call me and they're great, really, really good. And the other military band I've been doing work with is the Minden Band of the Queen's Division. And in fact, I recorded an album with them, with lots of big band tunes. I think the album is about 3 years old, and it's available on my website.
Mm-hmm. Put in there, brilliant. So there must be a different feeling singing with a big band to singing with a trio or a quartet or something.
Absolutely, yes. It's very prescribed in a way to sing with a big band because you're very much an instrument. Although you're fronting the band physically, you're not leading it. And you've got to really fit in with the orchestration of what's going on. So that's the first way that I sang jazz, though, really, with a big band. So that's what I do automatically. And so then going to front my own quartet, which really is all about my interpretation of a song and the relationship between the vocal line and the rest of the musicians, of which there are only 3. So it's much more free and much more artistic. You can be very musical with it and inventive. And I've had to learn that, and that's one of the things that's so valuable about watching people live doing quartet gigs, because that's the way you really sort of distinguish between the 2 styles of singing and getting it right, really.
Okay. Jazz, possibly unfairly, tends to have a bit of a reputation for being sort of fuddy-duddy and fogey and that sort of thing.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's very difficult to see jazz as being a 21st century kind of style of music, because if you go to a jazz gig, then the majority of the audience will be of the older generation. And that's really because most of the jazz tunes that you hear that people still play today are from the 1920s and, from 20s to the 50s, which really you're thinking about singing songs which are nearly 100 years old. It's automatically not very current. But as an instrumentalist, you can bring a new sort of splash to things. You can play a song in a way that, you can try it out in a different style. But for a singer, that's much harder because, in a way, the audience is expecting to hear something they recognise from their Ella Fitzgerald record or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult to break the mould. And so what I try and do is to sing the right balance of songs which the audience will enjoy and actually relate with, because it's something that they recognise in a style they recognise, and then trying to bring in some more modern songs. So a bit of Stevie Wonder. I like to sing some songs by Seal. He's a great songwriter. I've got a Jimi Hendrix tune in my set at the moment. So just really trying to bring it much more modern, but still playing by a jazz quartet. It's still the same jazz style.
Mm-hmm. So then you'd obviously be bringing in sort of younger audiences then, because
I hope so.
The music would appeal more to them.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the way I think that we need to move forward, because otherwise, if jazz stays in that sort of, the audiences are just going to stop coming, because the younger people won't take over these older audiences. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a big challenge to make it, to keep regenerating it really, but I think that's a singer's task.